Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome back. Well, for quite some time, we've been encouraging you to pray for Saeed Abedini. He's the Christian pastor inside Iran that has been imprisoned. He's been moved from one prison to another, and he has been really tortured in many ways, physically, psychologically. We have been asking you to write your congressman about Pastor Abedini. We've been asking you to pray for he and his family and his wife and beautiful children, and also to continue to lobby Congress to do something about his release. Today, a very rare and very special opportunity to have with us his wife. Naghmeh is with us today and to give us an update on her husband. Naghmeh, nice to have you. Good to see you.
Good morning. It's good to be here. Thank you for continuing to pray for my husband and spreading the word. I appreciate it.
Well, we're just stunned that our administration is not doing more to get your husband released. But give us an update. Have you heard from him recently?
He was moved. He was hospitalized a few weeks ago, but there's been it seems to be some confusion or some conflict internally in Iran, because there's been times where they've tried to treat him, but then there's guards that have come in and shackled him and been really harsh with him. And as you mentioned, he's been, especially early on in his arrest, he went through a lot of torture and abuse and being told that he should renounce his faith and return to Islam. And so it's been a hard journey. There's been a year since doctors inside the prison and outside have said he needs surgery, he needs to be treated, but as of today, he has not had treatment yet.
What's he need surgery for?
Well, especially the first, I would say 4 or 5 months when he was going through a lot of the abuse and torture, when they were telling him to deny his faith. He went through a lot of beatings where he got internal injuries and he got internal bleeding. And those are the injuries that happen, especially the first few months, but actually have continued few months throughout the year. There's been other beatings, but the first few 5 months were pretty intense, and that's where he developed a lot of internal injuries and bleedings.
Now, he's in prison for his Christian faith. Was he proselyting his Christian faith? I mean, what got him in prison?
Well, he converted in the year 2000. He was a pretty strong Muslim from a very strong Muslim family. He was in Iran and when he converted, and born and raised in Iran. And at that time, there was a government that was not threatened by Christianity, and a more moderate government under a president named Khatami, who was before Ahmadinejad. And he was being trained under a government-approved building church, an actual church that government monitors. And at that time, they allowed for these Bible school students, including Saeed, to start these house churches. And when Ahmadinejad came, he said he will uproot. The new president came in 2005. He said he would uproot Christianity from Iran. And that's when the Bible school was shut down. And Saeed stopped all house church activity. Now they've arrested him. And now that they've arrested him, since he has been back and forth in Iran since 2009, working on an orphanage with the Iranian government has gone back to 13, 14 years earlier when Saeed first converted, and his conversion was recognized by the Iranian government. The house churches were actually allowed. They've gone back there and said, well, the house church networks that was started was actually a threat to the national security of Iran. Saeed has conducted soft war, and they unfortunately have given him 8 years in prison, which actually could be longer because he's led people to Christ in prison, and they've threatened that they would add on more years because of that. Wow.
And how are you communicating to your children what's happening to their father?
You know, I try not to say a lot of the negatives. I told them, oh, Daddy, we have good news. He was taken to the hospital and we're going to treat him. And so they were happy that he was out of the prison, and they were telling his friends, Daddy is out of prison. And so they feel like he's not a prisoner anymore in some way. But I don't try to say the negative and the beatings and the abuse, but I just tell them, and they say it too, we're proud of Daddy for standing up for his faith. Not only has he stood up, but he's shared Christ with his desperate cellmates who are hopeless.
Wow, that is wonderful.
And so, I tell him we're proud of him and we pray for him, and I tell him it's God's timing. Sometimes we don't understand God, but we can't question his goodness. And I've been blessed to see them grow in their faith. And that's been a blessing for me to see that they haven't become resentful of Christ or their faith because of Saeed, but they've actually grown in their faith.
Oh, that's remarkable. That's so biblical. That's a Paul experience. How often are you able to have contact with him?
Well, the Iranian government hasn't really allowed any contact since January of 2013. And I can't go back and visit him. They've threatened that I would be arrested because I've spoken out, and they consider it a national security. They consider me now against the government. So I can't go back. And my main source of knowing what's going on with my husband is through his parents, his family inside of Iran, who goes and visits him at the prison, but now I get at the hospital. So that's how I get updates on him. And he's been able to get a few letters out to me, and I've been able to send a few messages, but that's been our main form of communication.
What's happening, Naghmeh, what's happening government-wise to get your husband released? What more can we do to support you and help you?
We have had Secretary of State John Kerry make statements. President Obama recently spoke at the prayer breakfast, but that's only because the American people are speaking out. It's become such a huge movement. Millions of Americans have signed petitions, churches have been praying. They've contacted, as you mentioned early on, contacted their legislature, contacted their senators, congressmen, saying this is an important issue for us. And that pressure works, and it gets to our government, gets to our president to know that religious freedom and Christian persecution is an important issue. I'd hoped that after the prayer breakfast, Saeed being mentioned by President Obama, there'd be more of a proactive role in getting him out. But unfortunately, in the last almost 2 years that I've worked with our government, it's been more of a push than really seeing a lot of proactive action from them. So we have to continue to speak out. We have to continue to tell our government we care and not forget about Saeed, continue to pray and speak out to keep him alive and to get him home. That's the only way, outside of prayer, that's the only way to do it, is to continue to speak out.
I know that Jay and Jordan Sekelo are certainly working in your behalf and trying hard to rally Americans and people. Is there any sitting legislator in Congress that has really taken up your cause that we can continue to support?
There's been a lot. There's, our senators. I've met with Senator Cruz and Rand Paul, and many of our senators that have been very vocal. Also, our Congress has been very vocal. I've spoken in front of the Congress for the Tom Lantos human rights. I recently spoke in front of our Foreign Relations Committee. Actually, we've had a lot of supportive congressmen. Some of them have adopted Saeed as a religious freedom issue. I know from Arizona, the congressmen there Phoenix have really picked up Saeed's cause. But, just the more the better, especially asking even our senators. There's been a lot of support in our Congress. So just continuing to reach out to in your region, your congressmen and senators, and saying this is an important issue for us. This is what our country's values have. It's the core of our values, religious freedom, and Christians should be one of. Our president should be speaking about that. We've had him call people of other beliefs in sexuality or otherwise on their stance on abortion and so on. But Christians represent our nation as well, and our president should also pay attention to Christian issues and Christian persecution. And here's an American pastor who has not broken any law. Iran actually has laws that allow for religious freedom, including conversion and peaceful assembly of Christians. So Iran's breaking, and Iran has agreed to international laws that allow for religious freedom. So here's an American citizen who's been held long enough, who's been tortured, while Iran is admittedly breaking their own law and international laws. And our government should be very strict, very aggressive on saying this is not right. He needs to come out. And unfortunately, we've made deals with Iran. We've lifted some sanctions. We've given him over $500 million, but we haven't said this is wrong. You need to return this American pastor.
Well, Naghmeh, you're in our prayers. How can we support you and stay connected? I'd love to have you back again soon, but how can we support you? What can we do for you today?
I appreciate your support. My biggest support is prayer. That has kept me, my faith in Jesus has kept me going. I was devastated when this happened. And through people praying and saying, we're with you, we haven't forgotten you, we haven't forgotten your husband. So I would just ask for more prayer and to contact your local government officials. But it's just been, God has opened so many doors for the gospel through this. And so prayers for the continued open doors. I've spoken in front of 196 nations in the UN. I recently came back from Geneva Summit for Human Rights and Democracy. I was the only Christian speaker there. I got to share the gospel with so many different people and human rights advocates that from different beliefs. And so I was the only Christian there. But so many doors have opened because people have spoken up. I couldn't do this on my own. And I would have not believed that every phone call, every letter, email, one sentence email, sending to your local official counts, and they listen. And I've had so many senators and congressmen telling me that that email made a difference for me to be able to talk to them and meet with them. So your voice counts, and your prayer obviously counts even more. So I would appreciate continued prayers.
Well, I tell you, this is fascinating, and obviously God is even using this for good in many, many ways. You remain in our prayers, your husband remain in our prayers, certainly your family, and let's connect again soon, okay?
I would like that. Thank you so much. God bless.
Blessings to you. All right, we'll be right back.